Today is a wonderful day to be able to say that we have now launched Green Star Performance as a united rating tool between Australia and New Zealand. There's a lot of trans-Tasman rivalry, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that later. But in this context right now, I couldn't be more pleased. So maybe just a quick one about what the GBCA is about. That's really what we're on about. We want buildings that are healthy, livable, productive, resilient and sustainable. And that's really what Green Star Performance is about. Sam talked a lot about existing buildings and how important they are to the future of our built environment, and particularly a low carbon future. And Green Star Performance really sits in that place in our built environment and the rating tools. Oh, I turned 2 pages. No wonder I couldn't find my notes. So at the GBCA, we've certified over 1,700 projects. I think the count's almost 1,750 today. It changes literally every day for us these days. And last financial year, which ended in June, we certified 395 new buildings. More than half of those were buildings under Green Star Performance. So it's a really big part of our certification portfolio now. One of the big things that we need to address today is the fact that I think we're really in a new day as far as the GBCA and the New Zealand Green Building Council and the partnership that we have together. We think that the best way for the world to move forward is for us to work together, and the GBCA, like Andrew was saying, are also working through the World Green Building Council network right across the world. But there's something special about working in your own region and working closely together. So we are actually working together on new Green Star rating tools, and not just communities and then performance that's being released today, but we're also working together about the future of rating tools in Australia and New Zealand. So to that end, the new GBCA rating tools that we're just starting to form up now what we're going to do with will contain New Zealand specific content, just like Green Star Performance does today. And also, the New Zealand Green Building Council, thankfully, are now represented on our technical and industry advisory groups that direct what we do with Green Star in Australia and now New Zealand as well. So Sam and Simon Wilson sit on those groups, and we're very grateful for their input and their influence in the way that Green Star moves forward. You've seen that slide before. It's really important, that diagram, because the thing that is different about Green Star Performance is it finally recognises that the process of development of buildings is not linear. Up until now, we say, oh, we design a building, we construct a building, the building's occupied, great, we're finished. We're not finished, we just got started. A building has a lifespan. And that's what Green Star Performance is about that recognition that we continually improve our buildings. And frankly, if we're going to meet the demands of the Paris Agreement, we must improve our buildings. Performance portfolio. So performance portfolio is when you have a group of assets and you certify them together to get the synergies. And that's why Sam was actually able to explain to you that when you do a portfolio certification, it's much more economically viable per building than just doing one building on its own. These are the major developers that we have. Lend-Lease has this weird logo that likes to change colour. We couldn't stop it. These are the developers who've got active certified performance portfolios at the moment. There are actually others just going through certification at the moment as well. But really, it's not just about portfolios. One of our early certifications was the Sydney Opera House. So you can really use Green Star Performance for anything. The Sydney Opera House is 44 years old this year. They got a 4-star rating, which, can I tell you, is quite hard for an existing building. Not only that, they're shooting for 5-star now. So there is no limit in what you can do, even in a building such as the Sydney Opera House. Now, what's happened with Green Star Performance in Australia? So these are the rating tool versions: Pilot, version 1, version 1.1, now version 1.2 today. We don't have any registrations to that yet. But you can see how many projects are in our database. So I just got a data dump a couple of days ago. This is how many projects are in our database related to each rating tool. So it's really quite extraordinary as people start to understand the benefits of Green Star performance, how much this is taking off. Some quick stats of what's happening. So right now we have 957 individual assets in our system. Of those, we have 609 certified assets. Actually, there's more than that now. That was a couple of days ago. We've got at least 10 more now. There's another 60 that have registered, so that means they've signed up and they will be going through certification, and about another 250 to 300 that are in the process of registering. So really exciting stuff for us. We also have 23 Green Star Performance portfolios, and there's an enormous number of buildings sitting within those as well. So what type of buildings? So what we have is, the left-hand column is building code class 5, which is commercial office buildings. So they just top us out at 256 certified buildings. We've got 232 retail buildings, 42 warehouses, 85 industrial, and then just 3 education and assembly buildings, one of which is the Opera House, and the other 2 are actually schools. This is the Australian version of Sam's slide that he showed you before, showing that we go from 0 to 6 star. Now, 0 star is just assessed, it's not actually a certified rating. The certified ratings start at 1 star. It's really important to understand the relevance of introducing those lower star ratings into the scale. For an existing building, at least in Australia, and I assume you're very similar, to be anything more than minimum practice performance is actually pretty good. We have an issue even with building code compliance in just the average buildings that are rated, because now that we're in the existing building market, we're not looking at the buildings that have been designed to perform well anymore. We're looking at code compliant buildings. So it's really, and when you look at 4, 5, 6 star, if you're actually looking at best practice, excellence and world leadership for an existing building, that's a great challenge. Now, it's achievable, but it's a challenge. What I can say is that, I can't tell you what it is, but just yesterday we certified our first 6 star portfolio, and that's amazing. So watch out, there'll be a media release coming out about that if we've got anything to do with it. But it's actually quite hard to get there, but there's actually an enormous benefit in even shooting for the lower stars, and we'll talk more about that. So the certified ratings that we have so far, so we've got 50 odd 0 star assessed buildings. Why would you do that? Why would you want 0 star? Well, the first thing is you don't have to talk about it, because we don't publicise these ratings, and nor do the building owners generally. But what it does is it gives you a starting point, because how can you know how to improve if you don't know where you are? And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. What you do see is that if you can get to a 3 star building, which is good practice, that's actually a great result for an existing building. And it really takes a mental recalibration to understand that the scale of what might be excellent for an existing building is different to a new building that you have full control over how it is built and all the energy efficiency measures you can put in it. I'm just going to give you a quick case study on vicinity centres. So vicinity centres are a company in Australia that own and operate shopping centres. They're one of the top 25 companies on the Australian Stock Exchange, so fairly significant. So they have 83 retail centres that they own and operate. They have about $20 billion worth of assets and about 2.7 million square metres of GLA. So they're fairly sizable, you could say. With their permission, I'm just telling you a quick Green Star performance story for them. Back in 2016, they rated 100% of their managed portfolio, which was 91 assets, and they got a 2-star rating. And it was not their plan to publicise it. So this slide wasn't in their strategy. What their strategy is we have this diverse portfolio, we've just had a merger, and we don't really understand where all our assets are performing. We have a new sustainability strategy. We want to invest in our assets and we want to improve things. but how do we know what to target? And so what they did is they identified that Green Star Performance could help them with understanding the holistic sustainability impacts of each building within their portfolio, and then give them some benchmarking that they could work with. So they did that. They got to 2-star, which is average practice, and actually average practice is okay. But what they did as they went through is they went, actually, you know what? We reckon we can get to 3-star. And it's not that hard, because now we know where we need to target our efforts in order to get there. And at the stage that they presented these slides, which was Green Building Day in Australia this year in May, they were just about to submit their Year 1 maintenance review information with some extra credits, and they were targeting 3-star. And I'm very pleased to say they hit the 3-star. So within 1 year, now Green Star Performance is normally a 3-year cycle, but you can actually submit more and accelerate your game even at the first year, and that's what they did. So what they did is they drew a line in the sand and they went, you know what, we're going to be leaders. We're actually going to show people that you can use Green Star Performance, you can benchmark, you can improve your performance, you can be transparent about it. And what they did is said to the rest of the market, now it's time for you to follow. And that's really their challenge to you too. They also found a number of other really helpful just side benefits that they really weren't expecting. So one of them was that their retailers, they now look like a provider of choice for retail space, because if a retailer is getting a Green Star Interiors rating, they can get a couple of points gratis for being within a vicinity centre. They also found that they can drive best practice initiatives through their supply chain as a result of identifying what needs to be done in the Green Star Performance process. And they found internal advantages such as benchmarking and showing what data and practices need to be applied for new developments. Also, they engage with their operations teams because now they have the knowledge of what's best and they understand where best practice sits within their portfolio, and now they're lifting the game of their whole portfolio because they have the understanding and the knowledge that without Green Star Performance they really wouldn't have had. The GBCA is all about the sustainable transformation of the built environment. That's what we want to do, and we're designing a path to a carbon positive future. And that is going to be released at our Green Cities Conference in March in Melbourne next year. Existing buildings have a key part to play in that. A lot of the existing buildings in our built environment, as we look around, are going to last for a very long time. And if we want a low carbon future, if we want a carbon positive future, we actually need to act on our existing buildings, not tomorrow, but now. The Carbon Positive Roadmap, when we release it, will have plans for existing buildings, and it will set a trajectory for where Green Star Performance is going to be going into the future. So keep an eye out, because existing buildings matter. Honestly, I can't wait to see what comes next for New Zealand, for our partnership between Australia and New Zealand. What I'd like to see, and this is the Trans-Tasman rivalry bit coming in, just never mind the cricket, Green Star Performance is where it counts. What I want to see is a per capita trajectory of growth for New Zealand that beats Australia. Because frankly, if I could get you guys beating us, to me, that's actually a win. So thanks for taking on Green Star Performance, and I can't wait to see what happens.